Israel's war has displaced millions of people in the Strip. The United Nations says 1.9 million Palestinians, that's more than 90% of Gaza's population, have now been uprooted from their homes. 1.4 million are staying in facilities run by the UN, but nearly 319 people sheltering in UN facilities have been killed, while 1,135 have been injured during attacks or near UN premises. At the start of the war, hundreds of thousands of people were pushed to Rafah in the south, which became the most densely populated area in Gaza. But they're being displaced once again as Israel intensifies its bombing. There is little food and no sanitation. The UN says around 2.2 million people need urgent humanitarian aid to survive. Tamara Alrifai is the Director of External Relations and Communications at UNRWA and joins us now from Amman. It's good to have you on the programme, Ms Alrifai. Can I just begin with the fact that displaced once, twice or thrice, the effect on any one family is totally disorientating, and doing it during a conflict is perhaps another level we can't quite comprehend right now.
You are right. About 1.9 million people out of 2.3. That's almost 90% of all Gazans having been displaced forcibly during this conflict, some of them up to 5 times. Most of them are either in UNRWA shelters, these are schools and different buildings where people took refuge, or staying with families. The ones with roofs on their heads are the lucky ones, because there are hundreds of thousands of people on the street in the most southern part of the Gaza Strip in Rafah, where they have been pushed to go by the Israeli authorities, sending them evacuation notices since the very first day of this conflict.
So what are the options then in terms of being displaced and going to a safe area? We just spoke to one of our correspondents who said there is no safe area in Gaza. What's your advice?
I heard your correspondent, and UNRWA, the largest UN agency in Gaza, concurs with that conclusion. There is nowhere safe in Gaza, and that is because of the intensity of the conflict, of the bombing, but also because of the inability of the international community to agree on a ceasefire. Gaza right now needs a humanitarian ceasefire in order for people to take a breath, count and bury their dead, maybe visit their homes, check in on their neighbors, on their friends, and try to find something to eat. Because, by the way, those who are not being killed by the bombs are being killed either by diseases that are starting to spread in overcrowded shelters, or by different health issues, different illnesses, or malnutrition.
What sort of facilities or aid are you able to offer right now? You know what the situation is like on the ground as such. I mean, if anybody is watching or listening and being able to get those messages across to their loved ones in Gaza, where would you direct people?
I would still direct them to UNRWA. UNRWA is the largest UN agency in Gaza. However, everything we receive in terms of humanitarian assistance, the food, the blankets, the water, it's a drop in the bucket of the needs. And that is because the access of these famous aid trucks is very, very limited. We have asked, as the UN, to have at least 500 trucks of humanitarian assistance, food, fuel, water, medical supplies per day. Currently, the best we get is 200 trucks per day. Imagine 200 trucks for over 2 million people. Everyone in Gaza now depends on humanitarian assistance because there are no shops, there are no groceries, there are no supermarkets, there's no marketplace, there's no private sector. So even those who have money cannot buy anything. Everyone depends on aid. And with 100 or 150 trucks per day, that is very far from the needs.
Tamara Alrifai there from UNRWA. Thanks for joining us from Amman. Thank you, ma'am.